This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for, and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads, and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
Welcome to the House of Hockey podcast, episode 96. I'm one of your hosts, Rae Rae.
And I'm your other host, Breezy. And we have a guest this week representing the IEHL. I always get those confused. Israel Elite Hockey League. Let's see, Marc and Tall are basically the guys that run it all. So Marc jumped on with us and we hear all about the league.
Oh yeah, it's super interesting to hear about hockey in Israel to begin with, and to hear about this summer league that they've put together to really help grow the sport over in Israel, but also to help bring awareness to the culture and the lifestyle over there as well. I mean, sunny beaches, nightlife, food, everything, along the Mediterranean coast. It sounds like a great place to go play hockey in the summer, if you ask me.
Yeah, for sure. So Marc tells us all about it, and that'll be coming up shortly.
Can I just talk really quickly again about how incredibly awesome our guest was last episode? I'm still not over it that we got to interview Vincent Trocheck with the Carolina Hurricanes, which if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and listen. It was awesome to talk all things, everything with him. We talked food and hockey and music. I don't know. I just am still pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It felt like talking to an old-time friend. So yeah, it was a great episode, and it's been really cool that we had the opportunity to talk to him. So
yeah,
if it wasn't for our listeners and our friends and our fans on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and just listening in, none of this would be able to happen. So, and speaking of, we are on TikTok.
That's right, we are.
We have TikTok. I stopped posting on TikTok because I didn't know how to use TikTok, and now I'm obsessed with TikTok. I spend a lot of time on TikTok. So I was like, hey, why don't I just start posting on here again? So if you're on TikTok, give us a follow. Again, the more follows, the more likes, the more shares we get, the more opportunities we have.
Exactly. Is that Mate?
That's Mate, sorry.
Even Mate agrees. He's telling all of you to get on TikTok. Ringo is tuckered out right now. I had just taken him and one of the other dogs for a very long walk on the beach in the cold, but it was lovely. And Ringo is just totally kaput at the bottom of my feet. So
that's funny. Mate was barking at someone probably playing on a play set next door. So
that's okay. He's keeping you safe from those children,
He is. They're dangerous children over there. So.
I know, and the FedEx guys and the UPS guys and women who drive, we have lots of that happening here.
He's got beef with the UPS man, that's for sure. He sees a brown truck anywhere, he just starts barking. He'll be in the car and we'll be completely away from my house. We'll be at like a grocery store or something. UPS truck drives by, he goes crazy. He hates them.
Yeah, those are those strangers who try to come to your house and he's got to protect you.
Yeah, but funny enough, they drop off his bark box that he loves every month, so he should probably like them.
I think, yeah, we gotta work on that, I think.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, we're on the TikTok. What's our TikTok handle? Does that even matter? I don't even know how it works.
Yeah, you just got to go to House of Hockey Podcast, and we are there. It's pretty simple. Just I don't know, just like the video, share the video, comment on the video. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
The more you can share, the better, and we'll get guests, and it's a good time for everybody.
On that exciting note, we should talk about the NHL All-Star game, which is happening. The 2022 NHL All-Star, the rosters were officially released. And that game is happening on February 5th in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. It's going to be very exciting. If you don't really follow or care about the All-Star game, do you care about the All-Star game, Breezy? Do you watch it? Do you like it?
I watch it, but it's just like kind of boring. It's just more of them having fun. I like the skills competition that I always think is really fun. So
The skills competition is definitely a little bit more fun, I think, to watch. That they usually do that the day before,
yeah,
and it's fun to see the players together in those competitions, like standing next to each other and talking, like players that you wouldn't think would be like hanging out,
yeah.
and just like shooting the shit while they're standing there waiting for their turn or whatever. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that, do you think the players like it? I think they like it.
I think they like it. I know the All Star game. There's been a little bit of controversy around it about having to send a player from each team, and I think Nathan McKinnon commented on it that it should be more based off of skill and who a real All Star is, not necessarily like a participation trophy to be able to go. So interesting thoughts there. I think that there's some players going that you're like, why are you going over like this guy? But I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a few eyebrow raisers for me on the list of people that are going that I thought, really, that guy? I was a little confused, and I know that the I wrote this down because I was like, who actually picks these guys? So it's a combination. I'm going to read it. The initial 10 players for each team include a team captain is voted in by the fans and 9 players selected by NHL hockey operations. So who is that? Who are those people? Who is on that committee? Is it a committee? Like, is it Gary Bettman? Like, like? How do they decide? I mean, a lot of the players are in the top points scoring, so a lot of them are based on that. And then the remaining player for each divisional team is also voted in by the fans as the last man in,
Mhm.
and that will be finalized after this has come out. But there's a lot of opportunity for the fans to really get involved, which is, I think, really what the league wants, is why they, have the fans voting. So some of them are just fan favorites then, but I think that
Yeah,
makes the fans a little more invested to actually then want to watch the game, which is kind
right.
of the whole point of.
Yeah, I mean, I vote. You can vote 10 times a day for your picks. I vote 10 times a day. Roman Yossi isn't in it. I don't know why he's not in it.
You've been voting since it started for
Yes,
Roman
I've been
Yossi.
voting since it started. But I also think it is cool because it's like for the Kings, Adrian Kempe is going, and in general, you'd have an Andrei Kopitar or a Drew Doughty, which they could still go, but it's cool that other people are getting an opportunity. So
Yeah, with the
we'll see.
Blackhawks, I was surprised to see Alex DeBrincat. I mean, not really, considering the points and goals he's scored in the tremendous season he's had. Again, that's all in thanks to Patrick Kane. But I'll leave that little diatribe for another day. But I, I mean, that's cool. That's cool for him. I
Yeah,
think, Ovechkin's in again.
because I mean, if
Um,
you keep seeing the same players over and over and over again, it's like okay, well, we've already seen this, so it's good that you're able to have new players come in that are having great seasons that maybe are taking places over those kinds of guys. But I mean, you also got to give credit where credit's due, and they do deserve to be there as well. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Joe Pavelski's going again. I think again, right? He's been before.
he's been before.
Jordan Kyrou with the St. Louis Blues. He's a pretty big star for them right now. Kaprizov for the Wild. I think it's his first time going. Um, your goalie for the Preds is going.
Yeah,
Saros is going.
yeah, Sars going. That's cool. I mean, he's had a great season. Um, it's well deserved, obviously, but you would think he would be more of a last man standing over Roman Yossi, who is absolutely fire for the Preds. So again, it just kind of just depends on who it is. I think Roman will get in it, no doubt about that, especially even with my votes. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like Matt Barzal's not in it. I'm voting for Matt Barzal. I
I
mean,
know.
Matthew Kachuk, he's obviously my vote again, but like you would think he'd be in it. So I mean, it's crazy. It's cool though. I mean, you get to vote,
Mhm.
and when your player gets in, if it's someone that you voted for, you do feel like you've been involved. So I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing that they allow that. Um, but I think maybe it should be all fan voted because I think you would get a more variety of players.
Yeah, I think it would probably be a little more entertaining as well, but then I don't know that you could call it the All-Star game because if the fans are voting, then it's like fan favorites, like fan choice, you know? And
Well, yeah, I
then,
mean, you could put like a selection of like the all stars, right? I mean, if you have like, I don't know, say you got to figure each team has at least a good solid five core man group, right? So
hmm.
if you're to put those five up, you can vote between those five because those are technically be the all stars, right? So
Oh, okay, yeah. Like if yeah, if the league chose the quote All-Stars and then the fans chose, yeah.
right, yeah.
I actually like that. I actually like that. We should take that to Gare Bear and see what he has to say about it.
Oh yeah, we'll give them a good old call after this pod.
Do you mind the 3-on-3 style? Some people don't like that.
I think it's fun. I mean, I like it when it's overtime. It gives, I mean, it's going to make the game go by faster. I think it kind of changes things up. You have to be on your A game. Um, a lot of open ice. There's a lot of room for fun plays to happen.
Mhm.
So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice little break for everybody, and hopefully everyone stays safe and healthy as well in the interim, since we've got like over 100 games that need to be rescheduled and played before the season ends. I read it's like that's a lot of games, so there's that. Anything else on the All Star game you have to say?
I think I'll get on the All Star game.
The only other thing I have to say is that was a bold choice for the league to put it in Las Vegas, considering how much the majority of the players love Vegas and love having a good time in Vegas. And I mean, I know they take this seriously to some degree, the All-Star game, but I mean, let's see how let's see how the guys who come back from the All-Star game and if they can recover for the rest of the season, like from a alcohol standpoint. Or am I being judgmental?
Oh, I think you're being a little judgmental, but we all know what happens. So um, they are professional athletes. They got to be on their A game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but it's Vegas and it's the All-Star game, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Something else exciting though, there was history made this week with your LA Kings actually are being written about in the history books.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a stab at her name, so forgive me if it's wrong. Aisha Visram. She became the first woman in NHL history to be behind the bench as an athletic trainer. She's the head athletic trainer for the AHL's Ontario Reign and is believed to be the first female to work behind the bench in an NHL game ever, and she was called up because of COVID related protocol issues with the King's staff. And so they brought her up. And that was pretty incredible to see. And it's also terribly shocking and awful that that it's just now happening that we've had a woman behind an NHL bench in any capacity, regardless of like she was filling in for COVID related things. But it's about time.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do it. Let's do this, NHL. Let's put women behind the bench. Let's see what happens then, you know? Let's see what happens with the play, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. I thought
I
it
mean,
was worthy enough to mention here for people who might have missed that headline.
Yeah, and the Kings played phenomenal that night as well. And it was what was really cool is a lot of the players reposted the photo, whether it was a story or on their feed, basically congratulating Aisha and everything that she was able to do. And it was really cool to see that the guys supported her as well.
Yeah, I think the Kings players do a really good job of that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the teams do, but I feel like the Kings have I've seen a lot from the players, just like social media wise, of being really supportive of things outside of hockey per se, socially and things like that. So,
Yeah, there's a good, solid group of guys that are a part of the team that are kind of in the younger generation, I would say. I mean, you have um, the young guns is what we tend to call them, but they're coming in, and I mean, Andrei Kopitar usually does something, so he's a little bit more present than per se like a Dustin Brown or a Drew Doughty. He doesn't even really do much, but Adrian Kempe is really up there. Matt Roy is up there. So Blake Lizotte. I mean, you got Trevor Moore. I mean, they're all posting for it. So it's good to have that solid group of young guys who are in social media who are able to post it and push it and kind of get young eyes on there too. So I think they're doing a good job.
they are. They are.
They
Anything
are.
interesting going on in your life these days?
Uh, no, I did get my free jersey that I won from the Preds. It came yesterday.
Who did they end up sending again? I don't remember.
I have it right here. It's Ryan Johansson. So they sent it in this cool little bag, little Preds bag, little authenticity, whatever that card is.
And it's signed, right?
Yeah, so it's he actually signed it. No, if you're not watching on video, I'm sorry, but he actually signed it pretty big, like right on the bottom right there. So pretty cool. Awesome jersey. Super excited. I
You
don't know
got to
what to do
get
with it.
you got to get it framed, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I have two jerseys framed currently that are signed. I'm running out of space on my wall, so I can't really do too much. Um,
Time to redecorate, Breezy.
but I think I have some ideas coming up on decorating and potential new decorating I'll be doing. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, really cool of the Preds to do that. If you don't play, if you're a Preds fan and you're not playing this thing, I would do it. Even if you don't win, it's still fun to do. There's tons of opportunity for you to win signed pucks, glass seats, seats to the Lexus Lounge, floor. There's like seats that they are just given out left and right. Signed jerseys. There's a lot of cool things. So if you're not playing Nashville Selector, you should do it.
Not an ad. Not an
Not
ad.
an ad. I mean, it can be if they want it to be, but not an ad.
Not an ad.
Yeah.
Speaking of jerseys and team gear, I have decided
Ooh.
that I need to be an owner of a Patrick Kane Blackhawks official jersey with his name and number on the back, home color red,
Mm-hmm.
because one day soon in the near future, I fear that he will no longer be part of the team. And I need to own a piece of that history for me.
Yeah.
And whether or not I wear it, I don't know. It might just be preserved, like, to have, but we'll try it out at a game and see if it's good luck or not. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to decide if we wear it or not. But
Okay.
um so I went on their website, the Blackhawks store, to order
Uh-huh.
it because I want like official shit. I don't want to. I'm going the just throwing money away on this
Yeah.
official jersey. But what I don't understand is the sizing. And they don't have a size chart because
Okay.
it's a jersey. And I was like, where's the size chart? I don't know what this means. So there's extra, extra small, but then it has the number 42. And then there's extra small, and that's 44.
Uh-huh.
And then the ups, it's like 48, 50. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What is that measurement? I'm not, I don't know. I don't buy men's clothes ever. Is that like chest
Yeah, I think
length?
with the pads on, I think that's what the chest is. If you want a small, it's a 46. I know that.
What is, but how do I have a tape measure. Where am I measuring? From my shoulder to shoulder?
Well, I mean, I think in general you would probably. just go off of like, well, what size would you think you would wear? I mean, you can get an extra small or a small or a medium. It just kind of depends on how you want it to be fit.
Well, I don't want it to be too small,
But I think you would have to measure with pads on.
but I'm not going to wear pads.
Right.
Okay. All
So I'd
right.
probably say, okay, if you would normally be a small, but this is a small with pads on, you'd probably want to maybe size down.
Do extra small, but not extra extra.
Right.
Because this is how my brain works. I'm like, there is no return on the custom because it's a custom jersey. Like if you put their
Right.
name on it and their number, so like I can't send it back, and then
Right.
I don't want to not be able to wear it if I get something that's too small.
Right.
So, but then is the extra small going to be too big? These are the crazy
Well, what
things in
size
my
jersey do you
brain.
have now?
Small.
So you have a small. So how
And
does your
this
current?
the small is too big.
Okay.
It's too big, like long on the
Right.
arms. I can't do any. I can't do anything, Breezy. If you were
Okay.
watching on
So
video, I was just like waving my hand because the sleeve
okay. So if
goes
you're
so
small,
over. So go extra small.
so if your small is currently a 46, then you would probably want to go down to maybe like a 42, which would be an extra small,
Okay. This
right?
is good information. I don't know. I was like, I don't know what these numbers are. This is a big purchase. This is an investment. I cannot screw this up. I got to get it right, and I got to consult with Breezy.
There you go. Well, consulting has been completed.
Thank you. And then the other thing I'm on a mission for, this is for all Vegas Golden Knights fans in Las Vegas. I need your help because they don't sell this shirt online. They're the Pride Night shirts that they made a couple weeks ago are so cool. It says love and it's kind of like a 3D thing, and the V is the Golden Knights helmet because it looks like a V for in love. Did that make sense what I explained?
Yeah.
And I want either like the t-shirt, probably not the jersey, but either the t-shirt or there's a crew neck sweatshirt, and they don't sell it online, and I called the Armory, which is their store in the building. And they have the sweatshirts, but if anybody goes to a game and can find the t-shirt, let me know. I'll Venmo you money for shipping, and like you could buy me the shirt and send it to me. I think a small. We should probably figure out the sizes at this point, but I'm gonna go with a small because it's probably a unisex situation. Hit me up, slide into my DMs, slide into the podcast DMs. I need this shirt. I love it. I think it's so cool, and I could wear it like every day and not feel like I'm just promoting the Knights because it's sort of subtle.
Right.
But I want to support the Pride LGBTQ plus community, and the ones for the Blackhawks I either haven't seen or are they're not memorable enough, but they're really cool, the ones for Vegas.
Awesome. Well, I
So
hope you get it.
that's where I'm at. I know. I texted a friend of mine who lives there, and I was like, hey, next time you go to the game, I need you to buy me one of these shirts. And, I haven't heard back from him yet, but I got to bug him again. And I have no plans of heading to Vegas anytime soon, or else I would just go myself and buy it. But anyway, that's how my mind works at stores. I'm like, but do I get a small? Do I get an extra small? Is that too small? It's a little obsessive, like type A control freak thing, but that's how I roll. It's a big deal. You can't mess it up, you know?
No, you can't. I mean, I think anybody and everybody goes through that situation because there's articles of clothing that you want to fit bigger or more, fitting. So
I
I get it.
overthink. I overthink things. You know this about me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that everybody on the podcast listeners has heard the overthinking, but that's a lot of my life.
They're probably
Um,
going like, what the heck is going on?
yeah, like, can she just shut up it already? Anyway, that's all I got. That's where I'm at.
That's all you got. That's where you're at. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Enjoy the interview, everybody. This week's episode of the House of Hockey podcast is brought to you by We're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and Draftkings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is celebrating with a huge odds boost for new customers. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56 to 1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get 280 in free bets if your team wins. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the action of the divisional round. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN, that's THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network, and get 56 to 1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win 280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN for 56 to 1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Oh, big welcome to the house. We have Marc Brunengraber. Well, that's the fancy way I tried to say it. Brunengraber. He is one of the men behind the IEHL, which stands for the Israel Elite Hockey League. And he's going to tell us all about it, how it started, what hockey is like in Israel, and so much more. So welcome, Marc.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's nice to speak with both of you. The IEHL is it's a summer league. Basically, hockey in Israel is a developing sport. It's a minor sport. It began at the very beginning of the 1990s. And for most of its existence, it was played on one rink in the far north of the country on the border with Lebanon. So to try and develop a competitive national league and national team program on one rink that's shared with, figure skating, public skate, you name it, a bit of a challenge, especially when you're trying to teach kids and all different age groups. Eventually, it branched out into the one rink in the far north, and then a half-size rink in a suburb of Tel Aviv in the central of the part of the country called Holon, and they play 4-on-4 plus goalies because of the size. So with all of that, Israel has developed national leagues for all different age groups, including the top league, and they have a national team program, and they're an IIHF member. And out of the 8 international tiers, Israel usually competes in the 4th or 5th highest tier out of 8. So they've done really well with very limited resources. Basically, what we try and do with the IEHL, which is now going to be heading into its second season this June, is really help develop the game in the country by bringing in semi-professional, elite amateur, and even professional players to mix with the Israeli players and give them an ability to learn from them, mix with them, play with and against them. And it helps the guys coming, from other countries to our league. They get the chance to keep their game skills sharp as opposed to just attending some camps in the summer. And what's really great about it is they get to see a country that, for a lot of people, is a really special place. Whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're a Muslim, it's the heart of monotheistic faith. So even if you're not religious at all, just the archaeology and history behind it and the beauty is great. So guys come and, they live in Tel Aviv within a 10-minute walk tops from the beach and in a Mediterranean environment. And you've got archaeology, history, nightlife, restaurants, the beach, and hockey. So it's really a home run for everybody involved.
That seems sort of like a no-brainer for summer. Like you that's an easy sell for me, at least. And I would imagine for a lot of the guys, like, you want to go live in this, beautiful country, go to the beach when you're not playing in your summer games and like get to experience something beautiful. Like that to me sounds like a pretty easy sell. But so tell us then, what's your official like title, role, involvement in the IEHL?
Okay, so I'm one of the co-owners, I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm the co-commissioner. So there's myself, there's my partner Tal Avneri in Israel. We also have a silent investor as well, who's a partner. But the way it started really was my background is I'm a Jewish New Yorker. So other than Israel, New York has the biggest Jewish community in the world. So Israel's the land of my ancestors in essence. So I grew up playing hockey on Long Island before it really became big the way it is today because I'm 50. So I missed the whole explosion of talent from Long Island. But I played high school hockey here in New York in a town called West Islip, and then later on I played college hockey for Binghamton. State University of New York at Binghamton, and I was a goalie. And
Wait,
I
do you
then went to
still
law.
play?
Oh yeah,
You still play in the IEHL every summer.
Oh
You go
God,
over
no, no,
there?
no, 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 no. I don't
No.
play in the league. I'm 50 years old, but I still play men's
So?
league at home. No, I try and stay in shape, but I still like a lot of former players. I play men's league now, but
Okay.
no, I don't play in the league at 50. But yeah, I played college hockey, and then when I went to law school, became a lawyer. That's what I do, primarily for a living. And as I was in law school, I heard about the Israeli League, the National League, which, the IIHF official National League of Israel. And I was intrigued, but this is really at the dawn of the internet, kind of before your time. But in my time, when I was in college, the internet was a new thing. So I wrote an old fashioned letter inquiring, and I got some responses back. And I actually had an offer to play for a club in the league called HC Bat Yam. That's also a suburb of Tel Aviv, a little south. And I thought about going, I didn't, and I always regretted it. So the internet came around, and I became involved with a website called International Hockey Forums. And that was a website in English. Not everybody was a native English speaker, but you could kind of figure out what was being said. And it was a website to talk about hockey in every basically backwater hockey country you could ever think of. Israel was one of them. I became involved, and over the next couple of years, all of a sudden I became the go-to guy to get information about Israeli hockey. People from all different sections and factions and clubs and political, every country, whether it's USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, Russia, all the way down to a country like Israel, there's intrigue. There's politics. So all of a sudden people started feeding me all different information. There was a lot of corruption in the federation that ran Israeli hockey at the time. And I actually put it on to the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation. And we helped bring that regime down and really clean everything up. So all of a sudden I became something of a go-to guy and met a whole bunch of Israelis online. And then years later, they decided they were going to have the national team, or at least part of it, come do a couple of exhibition games in North America to raise awareness and some money. And they didn't have money to bring the whole team, so they brought two lines. And then they decided, let's get some American and Canadian Jews who can skate, basically. Yeah. So a couple of the guys, Tal and the guy by the name of Avishai Geller, who was the captain of the team at the time, contacted me and said, look, we know you're a former goalie. Do you want to play? We're going to play MIT up in Boston. Do you want to play? And at that point, I was 42 and I hadn't skated in 8 years because, I was building my law practice. I got married. I had kids. So I said, I don't think you guys really want me to do that. And they said, it doesn't matter. Come play. So at the time, the coach of the national team was Jean Perron, who won the cup with the Canadians in 1986.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, so that was kind of surreal walking into the locker room and he's there. And, I played part of the second period. I want to say I played like the last 7 or 8 minutes of the second period, but he stuck me in a 4-3 game with Israel leading by one. I think it was leading down one. It was a 4-3 game. I just remember him tapping me on the shoulder, and am I allowed to say what he really said on
Of
the
course.
air
Oh
here?
yeah, we're explicit.
Okay. Okay. So he taps me on the shoulder and he has the French accent. He says, "Mark, get your shit. You're in." And I looked and I said, "What?" And get your shit. You're in now. So bad French accent. I apologize. But a Stanley Cup winning coach taps you on the shoulder and says, "Get in." You get in. So if you look at the tape, I literally inched my way from the bench, to the crease and kind of soaked it all in. And I'm thinking to myself, a Stanley Cup winning coach just threw me in net for a national team program. I'm 42 years old, and I'm going to play kids half my age in a second. And what am I doing here? But I settled in, and in 7 minutes, I saw 5 shots. I stopped them all. They did score a goal that got disallowed, which was great.
Nice.
And yeah. So that was cool. And so that kind of started everything off with the program. I became more and more involved as a volunteer. I ended up playing 5 exhibition games with the team over a couple of years. We played some NHL alumni teams, and we played
I saw, so before we started, you sent me a bunch of pictures and names and stuff. Like, I'm just going to rattle off a couple of the names that you've gotten to play with, and then tell us how that's all connected with this program.
Sure.
So goalie Marty Turco, Tyler Kennedy, and then I don't want to butcher this one's name because these are from a different time from Breezy and I growing up. So Aaron Asham, or is it Aaron?
Oh, Aaron Asham.
Aaron. Okay, there we go.
Aaron
Asham.
Yeah.
We're not the best with names, like Breezy said at the beginning.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Aaron played for the Islanders, the Rangers, the Flyers. He basically did the Metropolitan Division, the Devils. So he was through the Metro. I've been lucky. I mean, through the Israeli program, I've been on the ice and gotten to compete against Glenn Anderson, Guy Carbonneau, guys like Greg Adams, who played against the Rangers in '94 for the Canucks. I'm a big Ranger guy, so that was exciting for me. But I, Chris and Peter Ferraro, Radek Martinek, Matt Gilroy. So a lot of different NHL players. I've been on with, recently as August 2018, I was training in the summer with, I have a friend of mine through the Israeli program, and he trains NHLers for a living. His name's Dusan Kralik. He's up in Canada, and he's a former pro in Europe. And so he had me on the ice with Chris Tanev and Brandon Tanev. That was fun. Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I have some videos of me making some great saves, but what you don't see are the videos. There's got to be a 30-second clip where they probably put 6 past me in 30 seconds, but it's fun. It's the way it is. Listen, at that time I was 46 or 47, and I'm a lawyer at a desk, so if I can stop anything, like one of these emergency backups, I felt pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. But I really what we do with this is the national team games, the IEHL. It's all designed to grow the game in Israel among the public and help support the program. And really, because of the unique political situation that the country finds itself in, as a flashpoint for oftentimes, unwarranted criticism by people who've never really been there, I use it as a way to fight, the boycott, divestment, sanctions effort directed at the country. If you've never been there, if you go on the ground, you'll see people of Jewish, Christian, Muslim faith, and they get along, they live together. Really, what you hear about in the media is, if you have radical elements of a certain group that want to destroy an entire nation and its people, that becomes an issue. And if that becomes the narrative in the media, it kind of hurts things. So if you bring Israeli hockey to North America and Europe and places where people have never met an Israeli before, and they see, that they're regular human beings, and they're not all just Jewish people either. On the national team, there's plenty of guys of Christian faith. There's been Muslim players in the Israeli National League. So it's a great way to educate people about the country and what it is. And for our summer league, for the IEHL, it's a great way, like I said, to help the Israeli players improve while allowing semi-pro, pro, and elite amateur players to really get a unique cultural experience, a unique beach and nightlife experience, and keep their skills sharp during the summer. So really what the IEHL was Tal and I decided somebody needed to do something to build the level of skill. And there are some very good Israeli players, but there's not enough. So our idea was, what could we do to entice pros and elite semi-pro and amateur players to come to Israel? Why would they want to come? You're not going to get them to give up thriving careers either in college or junior or in a pro league somewhere to come to the Israeli National League during the season. So why not do something in the summer that might entice somebody away from doing just a regular camp? And this is what we came up with.
That's awesome. I mean, is there anything going on currently that would be like marketing hockey to people in Israel to try to even get, parents to have their kids take an interest in it to want to play? And maybe, your summer league would be like a stepping stone to getting to where they would want to be. Is there anything like that going on?
Well, there's different, there's different in the National League, there's different clubs, right? Different teams, same way you have NHL teams. Unlike in the NHL, but similar to Europe, if you look in, say, the Swedish or German or Swiss leagues, any of these leagues, even the Russian leagues, big leagues in Europe, the clubs all have varying age divisions. So, take the Central Red Army Club, famous CSKA Moscow in Russia. They'll have a team for U8, U10, U12, U14. Right. So the Israeli clubs do the same thing to teach kids. And there are leagues at the national level for those age groups. They're not nearly the kind of skill that you'll find in Europe or in North America, but they're growing. Our league is more, it's at this stage, it's a summer league that's at a semi-pro level. We had guys in our premier season last summer. We had guys with NCAA D3 experience, ACHA club experience. We had guys with true Junior A and Junior B experience. U.S. Junior has remodeled itself over the last decade. They call it Tier 1, 2, and 3. So we had some Tier 3 guys, which in Canada would be basically Junior B. We had German 3rd and 4th league. We had guys who played junior in Austria and Russia. So there were some guys of some significant skill. And this summer we have some really cool players coming.
Anybody you can tell us about? I mean, I know you're expanding. Yep. So the current summer league's 4 teams. I'm just going to rattle off the names. You've got HC Tel Aviv, the Holon, Vipers, Jerusalem Capitals, and the Bat Yam Dolphins. And now you're adding 2 more teams this summer, right?
Yes. So we're going to add the Haifa Mariners, and we have a team in Netanya, which is another coastal city in the north, working on a club name for that team.
Cool.
Suggestions welcome. But,
well, can you tease any of the players that are coming or no?
Yep. Well, for one, we have Eliza Sherbatoff, who's a famous Israeli player who plays full-time pro. He played in the KHL 1 season for Slovan Bratislava. He was in North America in the Quebec Major Junior League. He played pro in France, Slovakia, Latvia, Kazakhstan, and he's currently playing pro in the Ukraine. But like I said, he does have a full KHL season under his belt. He's, 30 years old now. And if you go on YouTube, he scored a very famous goal with a couple million views when Israel played Greece years ago in the World Championships. Cool. He scored a crazy breakaway through the legs goal. So Sherby's going to come. We have a full-time KHL player coming, Ethan Werrick, who's Canadian. And He's got some Israeli background, and he's actually currently playing for the Chinese-owned club in the KHL, Kunlun
Oh,
Red Star. We have David Levin, who he played, for the Sudbury Wolves for several years in the Ontario, in Major Junior, and he's been playing professionally in Europe. We also have, I can't name yet, but we do have one current NHL player with significant interest. So,
ooh,
yeah. What's
that's
interesting
exciting.
about yeah, the only issue is insurance coverage and getting permission from his team to do it. So if it doesn't work out that he can play, he's still going to come and coach one of the teams. So we'll see.
That is super cool.
We had guys last year from, besides Israel, the US, Canada, Russia, Germany, and France in the league.
Wow.
So, and we have probably right now roughly 400 players that have contacted us about spots. Obviously
Mhm.
not everybody's going to be able to play. We look at everybody's CV, that
Right.
sends in an application. We have a form, and we look at their elite prospects, and we look at their CV, and then we'll make decisions about who's going to be offered spots from there.
Wow. So tell us, what does the world need to know, or at least the hockey world and our listeners need to know about sort of the culture and community of Israel, like outside of what we have heard or, in the media, that kind of thing. Like, what is the experience like to come over there? Let's just go with in the summertime. Like if they were coming to watch a game in the summer league, like what would the people be like? What's the food, culture, atmosphere? Just sort of describe that to us.
Well, the rink, the Israeli hockey community is pretty small. So, in the National League itself, during the normal year, there's 6 clubs. There's some, I guess what you would call minor leagues that have clubs too, but there's essentially 6 clubs with 4 owners. So they're kind of, a lot of them are interconnected, and it's a relatively small community.
Hmm.
Um, so fan size can be anywhere from 50 people a game to 1,000 people a game. It depends where they're playing and which teams are playing. For our league, which was a new league, and all the teams in our league are centrally owned, so it's not like the National League where it's different clubs competing with each other. Everything in our league is centrally owned, so
Hmm.
it was a new product for the hockey community. So attendance for weeknights was pretty light. We did get some good crowds on the weekend games, and then as we got into the playoffs. But what's nice is if you go to the rink in Holon, which is a really tiny rink, it's called Ice Peaks, and it's only suitable to play 4-on-4 plus goalies because of the size. It's crazy because the fans it can fit about 500, but when they have 500 people in there, it feels like you're in Madison Square Garden and everybody's right on top of you. So it's a crazy atmosphere when it gets crowded.
Hmm.
When it's quiet, it's quiet. But again, it's a growing sport. Food wise, if you're at the rink, it's like being in North America pretty much. If you step outside the rink is a
Wait,
different
like
story.
popcorn, peanuts, hot dogs,
Oh, yeah.
pizza.
Oh, sure. Of
Okay.
course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then if you step outside the rink, though, if you're in Tel Aviv and you're walking from your hotel to the beach and you go into what they call the shuk, which is the Middle Eastern market, you can find some unbelievable food there. And it's only a few bucks. American, you can eat like a king for $9. It's unbelievable.
Very cool.
We had shawarma, and we had pitas and
Oh,
falafel and all kinds of different wraps with grilled meat and vegetables, and you can find all kinds of nuts and dried fruit and spices, and it's crazy. It's a lot of fun. Jerusalem is ancient, steeped in history, and not as crazy at night. Tel Aviv is. I like to joke. Tel Aviv is basically Miami with more Jews. It's you know,
is that even
it's
possible?
yeah, I think it is actually if you go to Tel Aviv. But instead of hearing Spanish, you'll hear Hebrew and English, instead of
Right.
Spanish and English, and you'll hear some Russian. That's what you'll hear.
How
But it's
funny.
fun. My partner in the league, Tal, his wife is a really big club and party promoter in Tel
Hmm.
Aviv. So one of the things we do for our players is they'll get into the good clubs. They'll get into, we did a like a all white party on a rooftop in Tel Aviv, that kind of thing at night. So it's fun. I can tell you what's not good is when I turned 50 in October. So during the season, I was 49. When you're 49 years old and you go out with guys half your age and you're at an outdoor club in Tel Aviv called Shalvata, which fits about 1,000 people outside on the water. And they're making you drink vodka with a bunch of crazy Russians and Germans. And you're standing up on about a 5-foot bench of some kind and you fall and crack your knee through a table. That's not that much fun at my age, but
that didn't happen to you, though. That's just hypothetical.
Well, hypothetically, sure. Hypothetically, my knee hurt for a couple of months, and my wife yelled at me, and it was fun. Yeah, it's a good time.
It was a story you got to relive and retell here for all. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're selling it. You really are. I mean, there's not much to sell.
Now, is there any sort of tradition when it comes to any of the teams with the fans where they do any chants, or is there like a theme, like goal song that's just like super iconic or anything of that sort?
I don't know that they have that so much in Israel. Certainly not with the IEHL yet, because like I said, we just finished our first season. As far as the teams in Israel themselves, you have to remember the league itself is played really on 2 sheets of ice. Mm-hmm. There's now a 3rd rink that's been built, and we will probably be holding our 2nd season there if all things work out. It's a rink called One Ice, in a suburb of Netanya, and that's an Olympic-sized sheet. There, but the league is basically held. The National League's basically held in 2 spots. It's in Metula on the border with Lebanon in a rink called the Canada Center that is an Olympic-sized sheet, and then in Holon on that tiny 4-on-4 sheet. So I don't know that they have so much iconic chants or goal songs or anything because they all play on the same sheets. But, there are rivalries. The team that I almost played for back in the day, which is HC Bat Yam, they have a huge rivalry with a team, the Rishon Devils. And it gets nasty out there. They've won alternately the championship going back probably close to 10 years now. It's been one of those 2 teams winning. So the rivalry is really developed, and it can get pretty ugly on the ice and in the stands. But I don't know that the chants or it doesn't have the same kind of culture that North American hockey has like that. But the fans get into it, certainly.
Right. Are they wearing like the jerseys, like, how here everybody's like wearing their jersey for their respective teams? Is it the same there, or is that still building?
It's building, but you do see it. Some of the teams you don't as much, but certainly Rishon, Bat Yam, and also there's a team in the far north, Metula. They just changed their name. They used to be Maccabi Metula, but now they are Maccabi Metula North Stars. And they have they have a couple of different jerseys, but one of them is, it's like a dark blue with kind of like a gold, and it's got a big M. It almost looks like a Michigan jersey, but not quite. Why they do a lot of them, they have a lot of English on it, I guess, because although Hebrew is the dominant language in Israel, but you also see a lot of English, Russian, and Arabic. But I guess English, just being the international language of commerce and trade, they tend to do that on purpose, really to try and market it a little. Mm-hmm. What I've done with the IEHL is kind of drawn it back. I'm looking to put more Hebrew on the logos to market it more to a domestic fan base. So I have behind me here, I have the Jerusalem Capitals jersey. If I grab it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And hold it up for you a little bit. You can see, I don't know if I have the logo on there, but you can see that there's Hebrew on it and English. And so, that was really done by design. So that says Yerushalayim, which is Hebrew for Jerusalem. So we have it in both, Hebrew and in English so that, people can feel a little connected to it. We don't want to be just in Israel. English speakers are called Anglo speakers. We don't want to just market to the Anglo communities. We really want to branch out to everybody. The National League in Israel has really kind of suffered from being viewed as, the sport is viewed as a Russian and as an Anglo sport. And there are large Russian and Anglo communities in the country. But we'd like it to grow so that it encompasses, speakers of all the languages, both Hebrew, Arabic, as well as the Russian and the English.
What other kind of logos, or what inspires the logos from these names on the jerseys? And do you have any other logos that you could share with us?
As far as the IEHL goes, Jerusalem, we obviously very purposely chose the capital's name because of Jerusalem's deep connection to the Jewish people, to the state of Israel. So that name was chosen by design. In fact, if you look at the jersey, what you'll notice is you'll see bricks on the jersey. That's to represent the Western Wall in Jerusalem, the remnants of the Second Temple from biblical times. So that was purposely designed, and the lion in the middle is the seal of the city. So that was purposely designed. Halon with the Vipers, that name was picked because we needed, how many teams have a cool predatory animal, but we wanted something, you could actually find in Israel, right? You're not going to find a tiger or a grizzly bear in Israel, but vipers you'll find in the desert. So we picked the Halon Vipers for that. As far as HC Tel Aviv, Bat Yam is it's a suburb south of Tel Aviv, and it's on the Mediterranean Sea. So that was a kind of obvious one. And then same thing for Haifa, the new team coming in. We chose the Mariners because it's a very famous port city with a long history of shipping. So we did that. And for Tel Aviv, HC is just typical throughout Europe for hockey club. We did not choose a name for Tel Aviv other than HC because Tel Aviv on its own is such an iconic city, but at the same time, it lacks, it's a modern city. It doesn't have the ancient history that many other Israeli cities have. So we just figured, let it just use its own name, and we kind of rolled with it from there. And that's how we really picked the names.
So is the national team going to the Olympics this year?
Oh God, no. Well, that would be great. But
sorry, I have no idea. I didn't mean that as an insult.
That's okay. No, it's not an insult. It would be a dream.
Okay.
But to put the Israeli national team in perspective, the top line is guys like Sherbatoff, for example, who play in European pro leagues, maybe what you would call, if not minor leagues, like mid-level European pro leagues. And, we've got on the national team on defense, there's a guy by the name of Dan Spivak. Dan's in his early 30s. He played Division I hockey for RIT, and he actually captained them to the Frozen Four, the only time the school made the Frozen Four. Cool. And he played in the ECHL. The depth is not the same, right, as the bigger countries. So in the Olympics, they'd take a beating. Yeah. It's interesting to me to see what China's doing, and actually quite annoying, because if you've been following what's happening with China, they almost got thrown out of the competition, even though they're the hosts. And the IIHF had meeting after meeting to decide what to do, and they ultimately allowed them to play. They were going to throw them out for, if you can look it right up, insufficient sporting standard. Excuse me. So
that means what? Worried, that means not high enough quality of players? Not talented enough.
Games, 30-0, 35-0. If you're playing Connor McDavid and Patrick Kane and Mika Zibanejad and guys like that, they'd lose, by ugly scores. So would Israel. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're bad hockey players. I mean, if you've ever
but it's the Olympics. That's the whole thing.
Of course.
Like, it's the Olympics. You're supposed to be the elite top
of the world
representing your country. So that makes sense,
But with Israel, every 4 years there's the Maccabiah Games, which is in essence like the World Jewish Olympics. And it's actually the biggest sporting event in the world other than the Olympics. And they've had hockey the last couple of events. So in 2017, they needed to fill out some teams. So of course, there's not that many Jewish athletes for hockey. So they invited, because of the Israeli Federation having good relations with Ukraine and Russia and some of these federations, they sent teams from France and Germany, Ukraine, Russia. The team that Russia sent was pros from their second league called the VHL under the KHL. And they sent guys from their third league, which is called the Purveya League. And then they sent guys from their major junior league called the MHL. So it was a mix of second and third pro leagues, plus some junior players. They played the Israeli team. They beat them, I want to say, I think it was like 7-4. And then they had another game that was 5-3, something like that. So the Israelis were close, but they didn't get blown away. But they're also not playing Ovechkin.
Right.
It's a lot different to say you're playing a mix of guys from the Russian second and third league and some junior guys, as opposed to Ovechkin and Kuznetsov. It's just a different ball game.
Yeah, no, it's a different thing. What is the most popular sport in Israel?
I would say it's either soccer or basketball. They both have well-developed professional leagues there. Soccer is the world's game, right?
Yeah.
So they have a well-developed league there, but basketball is huge in Israel.
What do you think needs to happen in order to grow the sport in Israel? As far as making it more, maybe it's televised, or maybe there's, a popular basketball player isn't, an ally and starts kind of coming out and preaching it. Like, what would you think would be the best thing to do to grow the sport in Israel?
Well, you've hit two of them right off the bat. One of the things we're working on is trying to get the league televised on, major Israeli television channels. The National League actually has only been televised once or twice. I remember, I want to say back in 2014, one of the Russian language channels, that has a national reach in Israel, televised the championship game. It's not like a series like we have with the Stanley Cup. It's more like the Super Bowl. It's one game, one and done. But they televised that game back in 2014, but there was no real momentum from it. So yeah, getting a contract for television would help. We are, as the IEHL, trying to negotiate to get on some Israeli television channels. Getting some major newspaper coverage. There used to be some from the Jerusalem Post years ago. It would be nice to see that come back. But the biggest thing to me would be to get a couple of celebrities, whether athletes or movie type people, musicians. But look, if I could get Gal Gadot to wear the Jerusalem jersey, that would be fantastic.
Exactly.
I think this coming season for the IEHL, having some KHL players, especially, other than the NHL, it's the best league in the world. It's the Russian league. There's a huge Russian population in Israel. I think having a couple of KHLers come, they're going to help with some children's camps and help teach some Israeli kids the game. So having some KHL players come is going to help. Having an NHL player, if we get him, is going to be huge. But yeah, it's really getting on TV and getting onto the social media of some bigger names. The more corporate sponsorship we can get, just to get the word out on some of these companies' websites and social media avenues. Also coming on and doing things like this. So I really, really, truly appreciate you both having me on as a guest today. It helps us. It helps us grow and get the word out. And I couldn't be happier that you invited us to come down, and I really appreciate that.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to do this and filling us in and our audience. So we ask everybody these questions, men or women.
Okay.
They're meant to be fun. Okay. So who is your ultimate hockey hunk? Like, who is the hunkiest? Whatever you define hunk to be.
That's 100% Marc Messier.
Oh.
Absolute hero for me. 100%.
I mean, you kind of got the hair right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the talent, but I have the hair. I play a different position anyway. Now, Marc Messier, he's the only player in the history of the NHL to captain two different franchises to the Cup. And as a lifelong diehard Rangers fan, he came and he brought the Cup and he broke the curse, and he's the hockey hunk for me, 100%.
Nice. Are you enjoying watching him on the coverage on ESPN? He's doing coverage there, right?
Yeah, he is. And the best part for me is for my 50th in October, my wife had him do a cameo video for me, and he did an unbelievable job. He really went above and beyond and spent like a solid 2 minutes, and it was great. He was really great. He said some fun things, and it was super cool.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, Breezy.
Who is your favorite hockey lady? Could be coach, player, wife, girlfriend, announcer.
My favorite, I would probably say Megan Dugan. Recently retired captain for the U.S. national and Olympic team. I want to say after I had played the game in New York for the Israelis with Chris and Peter Ferraro really leading the ex-NHL team. They're local Long Island guys. They're the first NHL guys from Long Island, and they had the U.S. women in to their rink, which later became the Islanders rink. It's now the Islanders rink. But when they owned it, they had the U.S. team in, and at the time, my 16-year-old was, I don't know, what is this, 7 years or whatever she was. She was 11, 12 years old, whatever she was. And so we went down early in the morning when it wasn't open to the public, and we got to see them skate, hang out with them a bit. She took pictures with my daughter, Carly, and was just super cool to her. And so that was a big inspiration for her. And she, she could have just spent 2 seconds saying hello and gone into the locker room, but she really went out of her way to take pictures and take the time to talk to her. And yeah, so we're big fans.
I mean, why wouldn't she be, right?
Yeah, no, she's great.
Do you have a Sidney Crosby story?
Do I have a Sidney Crosby story? Yeah, I mean, it's tangential, but I guess I'll say it because what better one do I have? Well, I mean, first of all, obviously, as a hockey player, you have to respect the guy for being one of the greatest of all time. But as a huge Ranger fan, they had beaten us a number of times, and one year, we finally knocked them out of the playoffs. I don't remember what year it was, but when we knocked them out, there was on the TV, he just had this look of just utter dejection, and I froze my screen. And then I was basically like doing a dance around my screen and pointing and acting like an imbecile that we beat him. And I put it up on my Facebook page at the time. So it was pretty juvenile, but it was fun. And that's my Sidney Crosby story.
We'll take it.
Awesome.
That's great. We get so many different answers to that question that we never think we will get. And it's just a fun one. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So tell everybody where they can keep up with you personally, if you have a social media presence, or the league.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hardly a celebrity, so myself, not really, but you can go to israelhockey.com is our website. During the year, we actually not only keep focus on the IEHL, but also the Israeli National League and the national teams. Again, it's a bit light over the last couple of years because of the pandemic, unfortunately, but we revamped the site recently. So check out israelhockey.com. You can also find us on Facebook under, the Israel National Hockey Society. You can do the same on YouTube, and we also do have Instagram and Twitter. So if you look up Israel National Hockey Society or IEHL Hockey, you can find us on any of those media.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone go give Marc a follow. I guess it wouldn't be necessarily Marc a follow, but the league a follow. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.